We get into the thick of holiday travel season, how you can stay safe on the roads in the event of icy weather.
Plus, what happens when sand and lightning mix? We'll tell you all about it during this week's Moment of Science.
WBRC Fox 6 News. First Alert Weather Extra starts now.
And welcome into Weather Extra. Lauren, I've got to tell you, we've got the holidays. You're saying holiday travel. Now we got the chill to kind of go along with things, right?
I've been in Georgia the past several days. I was very shocked when I stepped out of my car and got back last night about how cold it was. Because, we don't follow the weather on our days off.
Well,
we try not to, at least.
Well, we try not to, yeah.
Unless
that's tough
it's
to
severe
do.
weather. But when the weather's quiet, I'm like, so I was very surprised. Very cold out there tonight.
Yeah, last night, I noticed after the clouds and the showers, it was kind of a dreary day, and when all that moved out, boy, the temperature dropped. In fact, I had one weather watcher over in White Plains, Nathan Harper. He posted this morning, had ice on the car top. There was enough moisture left over. So that's one of the things, when you have rain and then you have a big drop in temperature, you have to watch for black ice development. Thankfully, we had enough time for some of that moisture to evaporate. But as we go over to what's next and look ahead, well, we've got freezing tonight. Those temperatures will be taking a big tumble across the area. Lows in the upper 20s and low 30s out there. We've got this trough over the eastern U.S. and we've had some Arctic air that's actually entered the country and there's some very cold, dry air that's over the eastern U.S. right now, but the core of this has moved north. We're just getting a taste of it, and you can tell already how chilly it is out there tonight, and it's going to tomorrow night be another night where we see those temperatures drop below freezing. But this trough that's allowing that cold air to spill in, that is going to lift out by the middle of the week, and we're going to see the flow start to change a bit, and that's going to bring us a chance for some showers. But you can see as we've had this system, this disturbance, this low pressure system to the northeast is helping to kind of carve out that flow of colder air. They're actually getting set. Looks like could be quite a bit of lake effect snow on the colder side of this system for areas to the north. So if you still have some holiday travel plans here going into Tuesday, that will have an impact around places like Buffalo. But as we get in here close to home, you can see on First Alert AccuTrack radar, we're already showing some 30s in places like Hamilton, Haleyville, and Aniana around 38 degrees, and a lot of the data telling us that we'll see some 20s on the map early tomorrow morning, but there will be just enough cloud cover moving in tonight. I think that's going to keep places like Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, Point South, and West in the low 30s right there close to freezing, and then areas to the north and east especially where we're already seeing those colder conditions, temperatures there in the 20s tomorrow morning. But any way you put it, still freezing early in the day. Cover the plants, make sure the plants are protected, and you may want to just go ahead, play it safe. You have one of those faucet covers, make sure the faucets are covered there for the overnight, a cold start early in the day. And one of the next big things, of course, the cold tonight, tomorrow night. Most of us will drop into the 20s for overnight lows, and then later this week these are the overnight low temperatures, and you can see we're going from lows around 28. You gotta love Alabama weather, right? Overnight lows back in the 50s there towards the end of the week. But here's the thing, that's because we got clouds and we got showers coming back, and we're talking about a soggy setup, one of the big stories as we go into the weekend. So stay tuned for that. I'll have those specifics coming up in the 7-day forecast. But with those temperatures dropping below freezing tonight, the city of Birmingham and the Jimmy Hale Mission are opening up a warming station this week. So if you need shelter from the cold, that shelter at the Jimmy Hale Mission is on 2nd Avenue. It's going to be open tonight at 6 p.m. and will remain open until 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. It will open again for the same hours. That's going to be tomorrow night. Food will be provided, and if you need a ride to the shelter, you can be picked up at a handful of locations, including the Boutwell Auditorium. A complete list is on the WBRC News app. Anniston is also opening up a warming shelter at the bridge at Anniston First United Methodist Church. It opened this evening at 5 p.m. and it's going to remain open until 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, actually until 8 a.m. and will be open until Thursday, I should say. So if you need more information about that contact, you can contact the local United Way at 211.
And the Firehouse Ministries is also preparing to help anyone who needs it. Firehouse Shelter is Birmingham's emergency shelter for men. They say they'll be operating as an extended stay shelter during the cold weather. The shelter says they could also really use extra supplies to keep everyone who comes looking for help stay warm. We're talking coats, hoodies, jeans, and blankets are the items they especially need. While the shelter says they have plenty of space for those seeking shelter, keeping a steady supply of donations is vital.
There are so many of the men that don't do well in congregate housing and prefer to be on the streets. We want to equip them with what they need in order to be safe and to survive the very cold weather.
You can drop donations off at Firehouse Ministries, and you can also find out how to donate online on our website, WBRC.com. And even though we're going through some cold temperatures right now, a new analysis and study from NOAA shows that snowfall is actually declining globally. Scientists are blaming rising temperatures from human-induced climate change. According to the data, global snowfall has declined almost 3% since 1973. And while we may be seeing extreme winter storms in some parts of the country, scientists are also warning that they may decrease as well as the years go on. The major concern from this decline in snow is the impact on water supply from the snowpack melting. And as we continue to talk about our climate, even though warming temperatures and warming pollution in the country is slowly decreasing, it's not happening fast enough. Fox's Chris Arnold has the report.
Here in the Beehive State, people have differing views when it comes to climate change.
There's no evidence of it whatsoever, and all proof that they give is just false across the board.
The reduction in snow, even in the 15 years that I've been here, is noticeable. So yeah, it's warmer.
A sentiment echoed by Michael Swearingen.
I've definitely noticed a huge difference in the winters and summers here from back in the 70s. Winters, we tend to get a little more snow down in the valley. Summers weren't quite so hot.
The fifth National Climate Assessment, a congressionally mandated report due roughly every 5 years, came out earlier this month.
So my role was simply to cover a relatively small piece of a very, very large project.
Mark Brunson, a professor of environment and society at Utah State University, helped work on the latest report. His role including helping write and understand wildfires and how they are affecting our region.
I work on how people affect the environment and how environment affects people in desert states like Utah and surrounding states.
While the report showed pollution in the U.S. is slowly decreasing, it isn't in line with the UN-sanctioned goal to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. That is the threshold beyond which scientists warn life on Earth will struggle to cope. However, through his work on the report, Brunson points to some positives, including right here in Utah.
So one thing that I think was heartening about this assessment compared to the last couple of them was that we were really beginning to see that communities are making a difference.
While he says there's a difference being made, Brunson stressed the importance of helping the frontline communities he says are really experiencing the impacts.
But one of the ways that we can reduce the impacts of climate change is by helping underserved communities, Native American communities, poor communities, because the disproportionate impacts are much greater for them.
And in 30 seconds, we're bringing you an electrifying update on lightning in this week's Moment of Science. Stay with us.
Welcome back to First Alert Weather Extra. I'm meteorologist Lauren Linehan. It's bright, it's hot, and literally petrifying. Dan Smith has the shocking story on what happens when lightning meets sand for all you Sweet Home Alabama fans out there in this week's Moment of Science.
We all know lightning is powerful. It's hot, it creates loud noise, and can certainly shock you. But there's one aspect sought after by researchers and collectors alike when that bolt hits the beach. As recent as a lot of lightning research is, we've known about this particular phenomenon since at least the 13th century. Most lightning strikes have an average temperature of about 2,500 degrees Celsius, but can reach up to 30,000. And it only takes 1,800 degrees to melt most types of sand. So, when that negatively charged bolt strikes the positively charged sand, it becomes the world's fastest glassmaker. It's called fulgurite, named after the Latin for lightning. And while examples of those fused silica crystals don't appear as clear as man-made glass, they're still fascinating in their own right. These tubes tend to have a glassy inside with tiny bubbles, since it cools and solidifies almost as fast as the lightning strike itself. Of course, we know lightning doesn't just strike sand, and those fulgurites can even be formed out of certain rocks. Those ones aren't usually tubes, though, but more of a surface thing with veins spread out to form a crust of glass. By comparison, the sand tubes are often as long as a foot and a couple inches wide, tracing that electric path of least resistance. The world's longest known fulgurite was excavated in Florida in the 1990s, coming in at a whopping 16 feet. Coloring all depends on the material, of course, as iron can add a greenish-browns tinge, and even down power lines can be struck and have their copper mixed into the fulgurite. They're a pretty rare find, but try your luck along the shoreline the day after a storm, and make sure another one isn't coming along shortly. For this week's Moment of Science, I'm Dan Smith.
So cool. Very interesting story there. When we come back, we'll talk about how long the cold is going to stick around and when we can see our next best chance of rain. We certainly need it. We'll be right back.
Well, full moon tonight over Foley, Alabama. Just got this picture on my Twitter feed. This is from Dana Lloyd there in South Alabama. You can see how some of those clouds are starting to move in there along the coast. We actually have, this is the next to last full moon that we'll have in 2023. It's called the Beaver Moon this time of year. You know, all these full moons have nicknames, but that's the full moon here as we count down to the month of December. It's going to feel cold out there, certainly feeling like the holidays. Some chilly conditions tonight. We have temperatures falling into the upper 20s in a lot of areas for tomorrow morning, showing 30 around Pell City and Birmingham, 31 there at Tuscaloosa. But as we look at the rest of the day, sunshine and temperatures rising into the 50s. So it is going to turn out to be another decent seasonal day with those chilly conditions, but it won't be as windy tomorrow. You can see the wind out of the northwest at about 5 to 10 miles per hour, even during the afternoon. So that's going to help out, but it gets really calm tomorrow night. Sky clear. The air still very dry at the moment, so that's going to mean a big drop in temperatures tomorrow night. I think there's a good chance we could see some areas as low as 24 degrees out the door early Wednesday morning. So it's not just tonight. Be ready for more freezing temperatures for tomorrow night. But then we start to see those temperatures modify as the atmosphere moistens up. We get more clouds on Thursday, and then we start to see some rain moving in here. Look at Thursday night. This will be after 7 o'clock, but the data has been locked in with a good chance of rain Thursday night and into early on Friday. The showers move on through, and then we get into the weekend, and Saturday you can see showers come back. This is a system that's going to be with us for several days. We'll see waves of rain impacting the state. Again, we have Thursday night, Friday morning. We'll catch a break Friday night if you have plans Friday evening, maybe traveling over to Atlanta. If you're out and about for the start of the weekend, should be in okay shape, but Saturday morning that wet weather is going to come back. There's a look at 9 a.m. Good chance of showers, and we'll probably catch some breaks, especially for areas to the north. The way this thing's tracking there, another system that's going to be tracking further south will be kind of in the cooler sector of this, but I do think that as we look ahead towards Sunday and Monday, it's probably going to be the entire weekend that we're dealing with this system. So we can see some showers right on through the day on Sunday, and then Monday we'll probably see the back edge of this finally moving through during the evening hours. That's why we have a 50% chance for rain there on Monday. I know the European model specifically, it was hanging on to this, showing another good chance for rain on Monday. At this point, the way this is tracking, we're not seeing the unstable weather or the risk for severe storms at this time, but do check in for updates as we monitor over the next several days. One thing I do see at this point, a lot of wet weather, some periods of on and off showers, enough to certainly keep the sky kind of overcast, kind of like yesterday, you know, overcast, kind of dreary, and that's something that we might be dealing with there as we move into next week. But we'll have more specifics on the rain chances, of course, later this evening. We'll have some new data, but we are watching the long range beyond the next 7 days. Meteorologists, okay, we're going to have meteorologist Lauren Linehan coming up, and she'll have that coming up here in a few moments. But I just want to show you that system that was moving through New England earlier. You can see some of the snowy scenes. Wanted to share this with all the snow fans out there from parts of Vermont, but I tell you what, they had quite the system there. Thousands without power, and you can see a lot of folks cleaning up after the snow. I mean, this is something, Lauren, I think this would shut us down for probably 2 weeks, but you can see folks there recovering from quite the winter storm. And again, I mentioned we showed some of the maps. Probably going to see some lake effect snow in that part of the country if folks are still traveling here for the holiday. But for us, again, looks like a setup where we're going to be ready for some sunshine by early next week.
That's true. And you know, some of our cloudiest times of the year can be in the winter. We just think about it being so dreary, Wes. But honestly, we probably, as much as we'd love the sunshine, we do need some of that cloudy, wet weather. That's the key to help us get out of this drought. So as we look at our First Alert weather calendar in the days ahead, we've talked about a wet setup, possibly beginning by Thursday night and going all the way into next Monday. So First Alert for some wet weather, not looking at anything in the way of a severe setup. Maybe could see a few rumbles of thunder here and there, but then generally looking dry next week until possibly another rain chance Monday, December 11th. So let's check it out here, looking beyond the 7-day, that 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. if we did have the possibility of a more active pattern, we could see the possibility of some above average temperatures in the forecast. Of course, if you think, okay, there could be an active pattern and warm weather, could there be that severe potential? We're not seeing anything that stands out right now, but it's something we'll keep an eye on, of course. So as we look at those potential high temperatures, this is December 3rd through 12th, showing possibly a warmer start to the month with high temperatures in the mid upper 60s, and then eventually a cool down as we get into the next weekend of December and going into that week with highs running below average. Now, as far as the temperatures, we of course have the possibility for a freeze tonight and tomorrow, but it looks like as we get into next week, at least through maybe next Thursday, temperatures near or slightly above average before we see the possibility of another freeze that second weekend of December. Of course, things can and will change. They always do. We're just showing you what the trends are right now. It does look like across the East Coast, we could be seeing above average precipitation, and that does include us here in the Deep South in Alabama for that 6 to 10 day rainfall outlook. And I think this really is accounting too for that wet weather we could see over the weekend into Monday. But here we are Tuesday, showing us drying out. We begin to see a little dip in the jet stream, and so we begin to see things getting a little quieter for us as that system exits. Here we are Wednesday, December 6th, showing maybe the possibility of some snow to our north, an upper level disturbance that could bring some snowy weather possibly to parts of the Ohio River Valley. But for us, looking like we're going to be staying dry. And here we are December 8th, that Friday, looking kind of cloudy and quiet before the potential of another trough setting up that could bring us a cool down for that second weekend of December. But we've been talking about the potential for cold weather here, certainly feeling it right now, hence breaking out the sweater just today. But with the holiday traveling season in full swing, many parts of the country will also be dealing with cold, snowy, and icy road conditions. So first responders from Oregon are urging communities to always check weather and road conditions before heading out. Fox's Jeffrey Lindblom has more.
We can get all kinds of weather at this time of year. We can get rain and snow and sleet and hail and everything.
Tillamook Fire sent out these photos early Saturday, warning that road conditions on Highway 6 were slick and icy, as the department is reporting having responded to several rollovers and crashes.
As we all in Oregon know so well, the weather can change very, very quickly.
Don Hamilton, spokesperson for the Oregon Department of Transportation, reminds travelers to take a look at the weather before hitting the highway. And also says to look at the report for what your route might see too, and to be aware and prepared for what Mother Nature may bring.
This is a very, very busy time of year out on the roads, especially at Thanksgiving, especially when we get around Christmas.
And with Hamilton saying to expect busier roadways around the holidays as well as wintry conditions, we figured who better to talk to than those who make a job out of it, being truck drivers.
When you're driving, you kind of slow down according to the weather. And then if somebody like crashes or somebody skates off the road in front of you, you slow down a little bit more because that lets you know you might be going too fast.
D'Angelo, who's been driving trucks for a little over a year, says early Saturday morning he drove through some dense fog around Portland, but says that's nothing compared to what winter will likely bring, like snowstorms he's driven through in the past.
You know, you don't get to see what's going on in front of you. You just got to kind of slow down and pick an imaginary lane and hope you get there.
He says this time of year the roads are busy with holiday traffic, where he says he sees a lot of people behind the wheel who likely shouldn't be.
I notice people are probably a little more drunk during the holidays, I want to say, because they drive a little more crazy and it is a lot more traffic and stuff too.
A reminder that we need to be very, very careful out there at the holiday parties. We all need to watch out, make sure we've got a good, sober, alert driver behind the wheels when we're out there on the roads.
Slow down, pay attention to the road.
Hey, and that honestly applies 365 days a year too. We'll be right back with a final look at First Alert weather.
All right, welcome back into Weather Extra, and we got some lovely weather photos. I was checking over the holidays, seeing a lot of these pink sunsets, some of these high clouds moving in.
Yeah, those high clouds can really make for a good sunset. You can see this one from Logan Martin Lake. I love the reflection it has on the water as well. So even if and look at this was, I think, about a week ago. There was a sunrise rainbow.
Yeah, sunrise rainbows. Yeah, you don't see that often around here.
No, normally it's a sunset situation.
Yeah, often. East Alabama is where we got a lot of those photos, but continue to send those. You can share those easy, one click on the WBRC First Alert weather app. Looks like as we move ahead towards the end of the week, speaking of rainbows and rain, we've got a lot of wet weather to talk about tonight.
We do, so be on the lookout for some rainbows maybe. Y'all have a good night.
See you first at 9.